The CXPod is brought to you by Netigate. Netigate helps you put your customers at the center of your business. Check them out at netigate.net.
Welcome to the CXPod, where we aim to expand people's perception of customer experience management. We know that customer experience goes hand in hand with employee experience, and we believe that a broader and more holistic view might even replace terms like CX and EX with people experience or human experience.
Hello and welcome to the CXPod again. Welcome Jørgen, welcome Joanna. I'm going to start with you, Joanna. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. We've had quite an exciting week this week, Merete. Maybe we can touch a bit on that as well.
Yeah, we have, and I like that, we're both in black. Jørgen has obviously got the memo.
Yes.
He is also here in black shirt. Hey Jørgen, how are you?
Hi,
I'm
Jørgen.
doing fine. Perfect autumn day, sun is shining. Couldn't be better.
Yeah, I like it. I was walking to work this morning, and just by coincidence, normally I will drive, but today I took the train. And as I came off the station, the sun, the sort of, that fall, the autumn sun, it's not really warming you anymore, but still the rays of sunlight hits you and you just feel it was just perfect. It gave me a great start. So
Yeah, we need that here in Norway. We need the sun.
Yeah, and it's not going to stick around for that long, is it?
No.
It's going to be disappearing anytime soon. So yeah, again, you're back at the CXPod. How have you been?
Been great. Been very busy. But when you ask me if I want to join, of course I'm joining. I'm thrilled to be invited, and lots happening.
Yeah.
Lots of happening.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, and we're going to delve into that. I just like for those who haven't sort of listened to the pod before, or maybe outside of Norway, but the three of us actually work together on the Norwegian CX network, so we've known each other for a while. Jørgen, you've also made a transition within work lately, so we'll let you tell us a little bit about that, because to me you've always been like the old Confirm It, and then they changed name to Forsta, but that's like the guy you've always been. And the guy I've always known you as, and obviously you don't change by changing jobs, but it's interesting to hear, how has it been to go from a job that you've had for so many years and a company that you've been with for so many years, and then we're obviously very happy to see that you're still sort of within the customer focusing industry, but let's hear a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And let me just be straight up with one thing. Forsta is the best company in the world, and they are just amazing at what they do. And within customer experience, they are really the front runners when it comes to customer experience management software. But 12 years is a lot of time, and when I got the opportunity to jump on the next SaaS adventure of Norway, I couldn't say no to that. So I'm now with the ITX, which is a little bit different than Forsta, but then again not, because customer experience is in the forefront. So I like to, maybe it's a little bit caricated, but like to look at it like this. Forsta is a very good strategic tool to have an overview over the whole customer journey from the customer's perspective, which is a really important thing to have. ITX, on the other side, is also a platform, but it's I look at it as more reverted into being from the agent side, or the one operating and working with the customer, sitting on that side of things, having control over the whole customer journey and the communication going in and out with the customer. And the ultimate goal, of course, for ITX is to be world class in the customer dialogue, customer communication, back and forth.
Yeah.
So facilitating for the whole customer journey from basically one hub, and that one hub having complete control over whatever happens in the customer journey. So that's the mission of ITX, and I think we come quite far in achieving that omni-channel, the whole view part of things. So very happy to be here. and we are still a small company, relatively, at least, but we have big plans and ambitions to be great. So yeah, excited to be here, as you probably could
Yeah.
see and hear.
Yeah, yeah, and it's lovely because Jørgen, we live in the same town, and we can also mention that ITX is locally from Vestfold, which is an area in Norway. But it is amazing to see the international presence that the company are building. So lovely, we like that.
And I was tempted to say, like, you guys are gonna make sort of customer dialogue great again. I mean, I know it's a cliche, and we don't want to sort of we don't want to be tied to the original statement of making stuff great again. But I think it sounds really both sort of as a perfect challenge for you, I have to say, but also this is something that the customer-centric world out there needs, and we need to sort of continue. And I love the fact that it is that whole combination of things that we love talking about. It's the empathy and the technology working together to make things swing and be fun and also professional. So very excited to follow you. And I mean, we can just mention it, even if normally we do this at the end of the episode, but obviously go ahead on LinkedIn and follow Jørgen and ITX, and then pay a little bit of attention to what these guys are doing, because it's going to be an exciting journey, I suppose, or it's already exciting journey. So
Will be, and it's definitely.
Yeah, again, we've probably touched a bit on this as we've talked about your background, but could you please maybe tell our listeners a little bit about what you would say your field of expertise is when it comes to customer experience?
Yeah. So as you mentioned in the beginning, I'm part of NCX, and so the Norwegian Customer Experience Professionals organization, and that means I'm quite passionate within the field of customer experience. I am also working within the commercial side of things, so I also work in I would say between the customer experience field and call it the knowledge and the field of expertise and the sales part, the crossing between those two disciplines, I would say. So through my almost 13 years within working with customer experience tech, I've seen a lot of program fail, and I've seen a lot of failed programs rather that we have approached and made better, but also seen a lot of successful programs. But always from a very slightly technical aspect of things and technology side, working of course alongside you guys as thought leaders and advisors along the way. So learned a lot of painful lessons and a little bit of development also within the field. Yeah, I would say.
So I'm gonna go straight to deviating from our sort of normal question challenges, because and this is our podcast, so we can actually do what we want. But and I don't think it's gonna startle you either, Jørgen. But I just want to sort of pick your brain a little bit about, because you've been in the industry for 13 years, and like you say, you've been working with CX technology, right? So Forsta was and confirm it was it's a voice of the customer program, or even a voice of the employee, or voice of the human program. So in 10 seconds or whatever time you need, but what's happened during those 13 years? How did this look when you first started, and what do you see as the sort of biggest changes that's been going on for the last 13-ish years?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say a couple of things. So when I started, survey was the only way to the truth, I would say. So putting up a survey, monitoring that survey, acting on the background on that survey within the specific point in customer journey was the way to go. And there were few points in the customer journey that were measured, and if at all measured, they were very siloed. So that's one thing, and that's changed significantly within the last, I think mostly in the last 5 years, really, since COVID. So you're not that dependent on the survey anymore. You're not dependent on the metric that you had anymore in the survey. the data is available, more and more data is available that you can utilize instead of the survey. So and that it's happening very rapidly now. So and I think the leaders among those are Forsta. They see this change and they adapt to it. So they are adapting into becoming more of a listening tool than a survey tool. So listening to voice, recognizing emotions in that voice, so that you can act on the background of a customer emotions rather than a static NPS score, for instance, and so on. There are many examples, but you have so many sources of truth and data that you can now move beyond the survey metrics. And that's distinguishing the modern customer experience providers from the laggards, I would say. Yeah.
And just to sort of continue on that a little bit, because it may sound like it's going to be the death of surveys, which I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Maybe unfortunately, because it would be great if we didn't need them. But I think with the difference in what do you say? Not maturity, like the maturity levels out there. Some companies are still doing what you guys did 13 years ago with the surveys and the silos and the touch points and the NPS is the truth and nothing else. So how do you see this sort of, some companies and some organizations are so far ahead, and then you have the laggers, but at least they're doing it. So how is this going to sort of end up, do you think? Where will we be in the next 13 years?
Hopefully, because we don't know, but hopefully the one that pushes and drives this is the ones that are proactive in this, and I don't think the survey will die in any form and shape. It's still very relevant for some touch points and some channels, but to be clever in where and how to use it, I think would be the key differentiator. But my take would be, with the data you have now, with the possibilities that lies within the technology that exists, proactiveness is the key. Proactiveness is really the key. So just one small example, and I'm not going to sell ITX here, and this is quite easy. We offer a proactive communication channels for people that are browsing online in a retail store. I mean, imagine if you were in your local let's say furniture store, and there was no one there. It's completely empty. Not even people on the checkout and cashier. I mean, you wouldn't expect that in a physical store, but that's basically what you are getting in a retail store in Norway today. So just the small things that you can do to be proactive and to actually help people, and technology is there to help. I mean, we have a communication channel for that in ITX, and it's not something very sophisticated or very advanced. It's just there, but nobody uses it, or most company doesn't use it. Our customers use it, of course, which means that if you're stuck on a headset or on a mobile phone, you can detect that and start a conversation with someone actually raising their hands and wanting some help also online. So what I'm trying to say is that this proactiveness I think is going to separate the great ones from the not so great ones, because technology is there to utilize.
And it also
really sorry, Merete. I was just thinking about, I've recently been judging on the International European Customer Experience Awards, and there's a great company from Turkey actually called Teknosa, who have been doing a lot of exactly what you were talking about, Jørgen. And I can't remember like the concrete figures, but they've entered these awards several years in a row and are winning, because they're not only being able to prove that they're being customer centric and delivering great customer experiences, but they're proving it on their bottom line. So they're actually proving that by implementing these sort of technology advancements, also both in the physical stores and on the digital stores, it's an electronic company, that they are in fact growing their business numbers. So
I think also the whole idea that we don't have to rely on what customers think they would do in a certain sort of situation. As you know, that's what they would answer to a survey, right? You ask them something pretty theoretical about their experience, and they give you a feedback. But now and going forward, the ability to understand their behaviors more. So you're no longer that sort of affected by the risk that people are. We've talked about this so many times that people are always going to say that price is a big driver. But at the end of the day, people buying Apple products, for instance, it's not the cheapest products, and they're going to continue buying them. And the price isn't it's a driver, but it's not necessarily the defining one. So instead of always looking at what people answer to questions, we need to look at people's behavior. And the ability to combine those two, I think, is also very interesting, because then you can detect where do we actually deviate from what we said we would do to. So there's a whole sort of pile of opportunities out there. And it's about, I think, structuring data as well. So yeah, we are headed far out from the agenda. So I'm just going to move us on to the next question, Jørgen, because I think this is interesting. Working with what you work with now, who's responsible for your customer experience in your company?
Basically everyone. I mean, we still have the privilege of being a relatively small company. I mean, we are growing madly, so we have we have some pains in actually a luxury problem in growing, but everyone here lives onto the customer promise. So the hub of this company is the customer success team, and it's a very, very important connection between development department and the customer. So the hub here is customer success. Every customer has the privilege of having a dedicated technical resource allocated to them, but also a commercial one. And the technical resource in particular is constantly monitoring and listening to the customer, nurturing, listening, and feeding that into product roadmap and development. So we are actually still, I would say, and hopefully forever, we are innovating through the voice of the customer. And to a certain point, of course, you have to make hard decisions, but that's really the theme here. We don't want to become a Spotify where they listen too much and it becomes too complex and so on, but we are really listening to the customers, building out connectivity with third parties and so on based on voice of the customer. So I would say the hub for it is the customer success team. But everyone lives and breathes it throughout. And we just had it up on the KPI board here the other day. The last year, we still do metrics here. So we do CSAT when we have a touch on the customers, and we are on a 5.0 in the customer success feedback. So CSAT measurement based on several hundreds feedbacks from our customers. So that's incredible.
Impressive. Yeah, absolutely. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to wind back to what you said about taking or making the hard decisions, but at least they're sort of informed decisions, right?
Yes.
So I think that's the difference, making hard decisions based on insight or just making them and then understanding what the consequence is. So we can know proactiveness is a word that's, I think, is going to be sort of buzzing around this episode for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Apart from proactiveness, Jørgen, what would you say is capturing your attention today in the customer-centric business world? This could be new trends or advancements, or it could also be things that companies are either winning at or struggling with.
I've started to look at going into LinkedIn and see the buzz and stories on LinkedIn. If we start there, I mean, you have the singular stories about the lady that lost her wallet or something and came to the coffee shop. They knew her and they gave her a coffee, and all of these kind of nice and good customer experience stories. I, however, dig a little bit into the gray brands these days to look at how can you consistently deliver on a promise and doing great about it over the long term. Because those stories about that free coffee because you lost your wallet or similar stories, they are not, I think, sustainable. So I tend to look into the grayer stories. So one company I follow quite closely, you can say a lot about their salary terms and their work unions and so on. But I think Ryanair is a prime example of a company that are really consistent and are delivering on the customer promise. And I mean, if you take everything aside and everything out of the equation here, they land on time, they get people effectively in and out to the plane, and let's be honest, in Europe we only fly for max 3 hours, so how important is it anyway? So that's the kind of company I follow and monitor and learn from these days. I mean, Ryanair might not be the best example, but that these kind of gray, boring companies that are consistently performing well and strive to have a consistency in what they do. So that's on the methodology side of things. Yeah.
Even though I arrived late with Ryanair this week. But I also I am behind you. Sorry, Merete.
No, it's just me getting impatient, because I think it's a brilliant example, because Ryanair, they don't promise you flowers and foot baths and massages and free water or coffee. It's what you see is what you get. And I think we've been talking so much about CX washing lately, and we will still be continue talking about it. And then Ryanair may not be associated with the best customer experience in the world, but at least they're not underperforming on their promises. They do not brag about being customer centric either. Their mission is to get you from A to C in whatever, or A to B in whatever sort of timeline, and that's what they worry about. And then they understand that there's friction, and I almost feel like comparing them to IKEA, because again, you have to mount your own furniture. It's not really a seamless experience, but they don't even promise you that. They just say that, if something is wrong, you can bring it back. And so I think we also need to understand that delivering good customer experiences or sustainable customer experiences, a lot of it has to do with what it is you promise the customer to begin with. And I think you would come further stating the obvious, that we may not be as sort of friction free, but this is what we will do for you. I think having that as a strategy can also be considered customer centric, because at least it's honest and it's delivered with integrity within.
It's very much about the jobs to be done. They have really done their homework and understood what are the jobs to be done for our customers, and implanted that into the core mission of the company, that our job is to ensure that our customers get their jobs to be done in the manner that we then communicate or promise out.
Exactly. And I think
examples.
I think there are great examples, because what we tend to underestimate is how these companies have over years trained us and set our expectations. I mean, taking Ryanair again, there are no arguments, nothing in the queuing up, in checking in, because everyone has been trained over years how it works and how strict they are. Same with IKEA. I mean, everyone's expected to put their Saturdays aside to mount the to assemble the furniture, right? So it's about that expectations they have been consistently putting onto their customers, and which is relieves them. You know what you get. It's a little bit like the lady you had a while ago talking about McDonald's. It's the same things, right? You know what to expect, and I think that's a part of a good customer experience ultimately.
It's predictive or predictable. And also with IKEA, I don't think IKEA has ever mentioned this themselves, but and I'm not going to say I see this too frequently, but every now and again you will get the picture on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you know on social media. Somebody is having a glass of wine while mounting an IKEA sort of dresser or whatever. So I think at some point people have adapted and embraced the fact that, okay, this is a thing, we just have to do it. And again, it's the stuff that you get used to being just the way they are. You don't think about it. It's like going to the gym as well. Like the first 3 times, it's so heavy, it's so so demotivated. But then it becomes a habit, and you just it's just what it is. And I think the companies who, again, what you say, are able to provide that continuous experience that's predictable, and it's because yes, like you say, we have the single stories of that's the sort of delight on top, right? The wow. But as a company, you can't survive on wow moments. That's not what's going to sort of give you profit by that's not the kind of customer experience focus that's going to give you the bottom line profit. It's the boring day-to-day hard work.
Deliverables.
Yeah. So having that in mind, I suppose you've also seen a lot of challenges, within the 13 years that you've been in the industry. So today, what do you see as the biggest challenges for customer-centric companies to sort of overcome when it comes to continuing being customer-centric or to deliver good customer experiences?
So over the 12 years, I think I've started to see a shift, which is so the technology is getting better and better and can solve a lot of complex issues and ultimately also tearing down the silos, because that has traditionally always been a challenge for great and holistic CX for a company. However, what I've seen lately, and maybe since COVID, is that a lot of companies, and especially the larger the company gets, the more I see this, is that they focus from quarter to quarter. And when you operate like that, I think it's hard to see the benefits long term of CX, because CX is a seed that you need to plant, and it's a very slow growing three-year plant, I would say. The results are definitely there, but you need to have patience. And I see many companies, they don't have that patience, and it's very hard for the ones that has the CX responsibility then to build something long term and something that is of true value for the company. I would say.
I think that was an absolutely brilliant answer, Jørgen. And I don't think it's an answer we've had before on the CXPod that I can remember. But it does remind me of a conversation we did have where we talked about one of the challenges, of course, is the top management are often, they're not there for the long term. Their job to be done is to impress the board members and is to deliver. So so maybe this is the core problem, that the top manager is sort of in and out, and therefore we get the quarterly focus that becomes the challenge. Maybe it was Bugsnes that we, I can't remember.
I was also just thinking about Bjarte Bugsnes and Beyond Budgeting. And I was also, because he is the one who introduced football analogies to us. And I was just about to say, as a soccer or football trainer or coach, your opportunity lies within the matches. And if you deliver 3 or 4 good matches, then you may get a new run. But if you're sort of hanging in a thread, the next match can always sort of define your future. And if this is the way we look at the performance of top management when it also comes to customer experience, we don't stand a chance to sort of get the funding or the opportunity to work continuously, because this is something that you have to be in for the long run.
They should watch Ted Lasso. I don't know if you've seen it, but
yes.
Absolutely hilarious. But I think he really portrays a great sort of story about that. Sometimes, you don't always win at the first few games, not even the next few games either. But if you really work and concentrate on building a team, then things will just start to roll by themselves over time. I think,
and that, I think that is a great segue into the customer around employee experience and customer experience and the link between the two. I could say so much more, because I know you've done stuff on this in the past with Forsta, Jørgen, but I'm just going to sort of let you embrace it the way you want. Go ahead.
I mean, it starts with the employees and it ends with the employees. Everyone should be involved. And I mean everyone. Everyone should take part of the customer experience initiative, because and that's, I still see as a silo thing, because it's not anchored in the very top. It's not part of the values and vision that is lived from a company, and so it dies. But I mean, if you're a whatever company, everyone should be part of this. But again, it's not what I see. It's like the customer center has the responsibility for the customers, and that's it. And I think that's a very wrong way of solving it. But it's
So what's
again,
the easiest way though to sort of include everyone in the customer focus? How would you go about and do that in a company to ensure that all employees?
it's the easiest, but also the hardest way, and that is to mandate the customer experience responsible. So I'm saying responsible because not every company has a dedicated CX director or manager, but someone should have that customer responsibility. And that person, I'm putting it a little bit to the point now, should be mandated to fire the sales director, the customer center director, and so on, because that's the ultimate sign that these people have the mandate to change and operate on the basis of customer experience. Not hoping they would do that, but hopefully you get what I mean. I mean, if a person has that mandate to instruct and secure a holistic view of the customer, then things starts to happen also. And if you're a logistics company, I mean, the people driving the cars should be then under not necessarily leadership by the CX. Of course, that's not the case here, but definitely under the instructions and living under the values that the CX leader is communicating. Yeah.
Initially, before we started the recording, Jørgen, you said that you are on a ranting sort of, and I think this is, have the CX responsible, give them the mandate to fire people. Then I think it's a very good idea, actually.
I know. It's the ultimate thing, right?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So, and we don't go and fire people in Norway, at least, like that. No. But it's just to pinpoint what kind of mandate I think these people should have. Because I think a lot of CX leaders they get feedback from logistics department, transportation department. Oh, that's not us. That's not us. Sorry.
Yeah.
We are not responsible for that. We are responsible for driving or loading, or we are responsible for stock. We are responsible for finance. And then you should go to them and say, no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
We are here because of the customers. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely thinking we're going to pull this out as a quote from you, because I think this is, and I hope I had this visual picture of our CX leaders and managers listening to the podcast and sort of stretching their elbows out, and because and I think that's also a good point that. And I think, Merete, you've also referred to this. Sometimes you've just got to sort of take the position.
That's my strategy. As much as I've worked on the vendor side as well, but being on the customer side, I've never gotten the outspoken mandate to do what I think is necessary in my role to do if we're going to improve the customer experience. So, if I lack mandate, I'll just pretend I have it until somebody takes it away. That's sort of my approach. I'll just sort of run with and do whatever I feel necessary until someone stops me. And I think, it hasn't happened once that somebody has come and said, look, you took that too far. If it had a positive effect on the customer, everyone is going to be happy about it. So, but then again, it also, but then it tells us a little bit about how vulnerable we are to not having the trust in this actually working. So I think we as CX experts, we have a responsibility as well to keep proving that it works being customer centric. There is something to it. There is a business value to it. We're not just doing it to make friends with the customers, as much as we love doing that as well. But there is a business purpose in this. And I think, unfortunately, that we have been too bad at documenting it because we've been such true believers. So, and we've talked about this many times before as well, but again, we need to be able to quantify the effect that all these CX initiatives have on our organizations and on our sales and on our bottom lines, because otherwise we will never get that mandate. So that was my rant for today.
Good rant, Merete. Jørgen, with all your many years experience, both on the vendor side and as a customer, can you recall any stories where focusing on the customer experience has been proven to be a game changer?
I know there is one thing that impresses me, and I think it's the ultimate task. And again, it's not the fancy examples, but I know you will have Martin from Alfa Laval with you in one of the episodes. And when I see companies like that able to move the needle and transform, I mean, look at it. I mean, I've been working a little bit with Martin, so I'm biased here, but I'm trying to look at it from the outside as well. Alfa Laval is a stubborn, conservative, very old industrial company.
Yeah, they do separation and fluid handling, and nobody really
Yeah.
understands what it is they do.
No,
So
exactly. They are global. They have multiple cultures within the company. I mean, it's as gray as industrial as it gets. If Martin and Alfa Laval can turn things around and become focused on customer centricity on a global scale, everyone can.
yeah. So, and you're right, Martin was on the podcast just a few episodes back. And yeah, if you haven't listened to that episode, you should. So I agree. It's this is not just for the commercial businesses or well, every business is commercial, but this is not just for the sort of well-known brands that everyone can relate to, like, I don't know, Coca-Cola,
B2C.
Nike, Starbucks, telecoms. But yes, like you say, Alfa Laval, and I don't know how big an amount of people who actually understand what they do. Like this is not an industry that everyone touches upon during a lifetime. But yeah, it's fascinating, like you say, how they have been able to change and move things around, and they have an outspoken focus on this.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a startup or a small and lean company like ourselves, you would just be stupid, wouldn't you, if you have the customer not having the customer in center. So those examples I don't think are really interesting because they're so obvious. You just need to have that proactiveness and focus. But those mastodons, those really big companies, when they actually manage to turn their employees around and the way they think around, that's really what impresses me. And I could have mentioned more. I mean, been working with a company that has been good at it all the way is Visma. I always mention Visma because it's a very famous and good Norwegian brand. I mean, the complexity Visma works within, the multitude of companies and so on. Customer centricity is at the heart of what they do, and everyone is in on it. So also a software industry company that has grown into become a huge software company for Europe, even winning Tour de France. I mean, it's impressive, but they have always had the customer in mind. So at least that's what I'm picking up. So I think also that's a good and very complex environment to be good at customer experience in.
Yeah. I love the fact that you pick up on B2B. And of course, we had the pleasure of hearing Martin at this year's Nordic B2B CX conference, alongside with many other B2B companies who are working with and succeeding with customer experience. And actually, it's a growing. I see that B2B companies are really investing and working consciously with how they approach the whole field of customer experience. So very much looking forward to next year's conference as well, I must add. So yeah,
I too think that focusing on B2B is because somehow it's not that they're lagging that much behind, because there's a lot of good customer centricity going on there as well, but it's the fact that we seem to think so differently about B2Bs, but it's humans. I mean, they're people too. So I like that we also get to participate in that conference, and we'll probably share some more information about that in a later episode as well. But
there is a reason why I mentioned B2B. They are just far better than the B2Cs. I mean, we are all of us are customers privately, right? So, but when do we actually get a good experience? That's very seldom. One recent example I had is or have quite often, as I like to buy my own electrical components. It's Elektroimportøren. They are really proactive in the way they work, and they really have a good proactiveness in throughout the whole customer journey. So they are really one example I think that are utilizing, and it's easy to communicate with them, and they make it really effortless to be in touch and to be a customer. So yeah, shout out to them.
So yeah, again, just before we dip into the last question, what stuff is it that you buy there? What do you buy
No,
electrical
I mean, they have a
components
lot of so okay, so this summer it's been my my robot gardening mower, so it has needed a lot of attention, and
Okay.
I've repaired it myself, and it's a lot back and forth with the Elektroimportøren to get the right parts to repair the docking station and the cabling and so on. So yeah, it's
I just
but the
remembered
Elektroimportøren is for everyone, right? You can buy a lot of stuff there, that lamps and so on as well.
We're going to make sure to check it out. I just came to there was a quote, and we actually used this in the Nordic B2B conference as well. This was when I was introducing, as a conferencier, I was introducing another speaker, and I showed a picture saying, "We fix what your husband repaired." And I see somehow that this could be related to you as well, trying to repair the mower. So not taking that any further, we're on the last question, Jørgen, and this is a question that I'm really excited to hear your opinion about, and I actually know that Joanna is as well, because I think this is your favorite question, Joanna.
It is.
I'll get the pleasure of asking it today, but let's talk about, how do you secure funding to do these customer-centric initiatives? How do you get going? Like, how do you convince your management that customer centricity is the way to go? Where do you start?
So whoever has the responsibility of this needs to take some training lessons and sit down with the CFO really in the company to learn their language and to know how they act. Because if you ever are to get funding for this, you need to speak their language, which means it's about return on investment. You need to build your business case, and you need to do it quite well, because that's the only way to get anywhere. So you need to talk their language. And I have a secure tip here, because how to start and where to start can be a difficult thing. I would say, and this is a cheat trick for all the CXers out there, talk to the market. Because if you have vendors like my previous environment, Forsta or ITX, where I work today, you would have a modern day sales persona on the other hand, that are willing to spend time with you to build that business case together with you. Every possible supplier of yours have a serious and I would say a modern supplier would happily build that business case together with you, because all of us in this landscape know that this is a business case triggered sales in these days. So go to the market, ask for help in building your business case, and you can of course have the privilege to compare the different business cases and then submit your ultimate one for your budget holders. And you're not alone. That's what I'm saying. You have a very keen market to help you from a technology perspective, so use it when you build the business case. That's what I'm saying.
I think that's one of the most concrete sort of answers we've gotten to that question.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that tip, Jørgen.
Famous last words, I suppose. We have to add some words, but we'll leave that sort of hanging. Thank you, Jørgen, for attending or for joining the show again. It's always a pleasure. We look forward to following your journey in ITX, and I'm sure, reach out to Jørgen if you want help to build your business case. It's basically what you've said. So and as always, it's been a pleasure. Joanna, do you have any sort of last thoughts that you want to add before we?
I just want to add that it's been an absolute pleasure talking again with you, Jørgen. So you have so much knowledge and understanding of the field of customer experience. So thank you for sharing that with us today.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Great. You guys have been listening to and watching the CXPod. We will see you again soon.
That's all for this episode of the CXPod. A big thank you to our sponsor Netigate, helping you collect and analyze all your customer feedback in real time. Go along and discover more at netigate.net.
Thank you for listening to the CXPod. If you want to reach us, you can always find us on LinkedIn, and please remember to follow us on Spotify and leave a review of what you think.